Hey everyone, welcome to the third exciting session of Robot Hacks. This is Mike Sinisi, executive editor of Make Magazine, and we are bringing together another great group of master makers working in the field of robotics, specifically open robotics. Today's a group that I'm really excited about because they're working on a life-size 3D printable robot that is full of actions and commands. It's going to be a fantastic session. But before we jump into that, let me give everyone a quick rundown on what Robot Hacks is about. We're doing a two-part series here. First part is a series of Master Maker sessions where we're speaking with experts in the field of robotics, learning about the different projects that they're working on and the trials and tribulations of putting together some of the more advanced pieces of technology that we're seeing in the maker field. Concurrently with that, we have a group of teams that are participating by putting together their own robotics projects and sharing them with us on our Google Plus community page. So if you want to see what these participating teams have been up to, go to makezine.com/robot-hacks and click through to our Robot Hacks community page. Make sure to click the join button while you're there to get all the updates and participate with these teams by commenting and giving them your questions or tips for the projects they're working on. And for the teams that are working on stuff, thank you for sending in all of the great updates. Keep them coming. We've got one more week left until we have our big show and tell, and we'll be looking at all those teams. But today it's all about InMoov, which is a fantastic robotic project. So I've got Stuart Gaines, longtime DIY editor, who's helping with the Robot Hacks series here. Stuart, tell us what we're getting into today.
Today we're going to really delve into this sort of anthropomorphism in robotics. You know, why is it that people who are interested in robots see them as people? And I think we've been looking at the innards of linkages and motors and connectors, and now we're going to be looking really at people who are starting from the outside and working their way back in. You know, understanding people and how people function and trying to imbue devices like that. And I just want to say that we have more than 550 people now on the Make community page, which is more than twice as much as the last set of Maker sessions that we did. So I really encourage people to check that out and the amazing products and media that are listed on that page.
Fantastic. Yeah, this has been a great series, and we've had the first two groups that have come through have given us some phenomenal presentations. We looked at the 21st century robot. We had a great roundup last week with Michael Overstreet, who brought together a terrific group of people. And all of those are viewable if you go into the community page. You can also find them on our YouTube page. So let's jump right in here. We've got Gail, who is the lead creator of InMoov. Gail, why don't you introduce yourself real quick and tell us a bit about how this whole project has come together.
So hello everybody. I'm Gaël Langevin. I'm a Frenchman, designer, sculptor, and so I created this robot, this 3D printed robot, because I got one day a 3D printer. And I didn't know exactly what to do with it beside little things, so I decided to get into a project that would be a bit bigger than just little rabbits, and that's how I started to design just a hand, and from there go further into the process of building the robot.
That's great. Yeah. And so this is, I mean, I've seen images of InMoov over the past few months. I know that we had an example of it at Maker Fair. We'll talk about a little bit later. But it's really one of the most, to me, one of the most awesome uses of 3D printers that I've seen yet. Because this is where you really start to see something that's it's an actual example of something that someone can do at home in a fantastic sense. You know, you are building a life-size robot. This is, you know, we are officially entering into the future that I've always dreamed about.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. That's the thing. Is when I got that 3D printer, I was thinking, you know, what can I do with this printer? You know, I was not into robotic at all. You know, so what can I do with that printer? And the first thing I saw it was that actually you could print things, parts that could assemble to each other. When I was a kid, I was really playing with Legos and things like this, and then I printed two parts that could assemble each other like a puzzle, and then I thought, yeah, that's what we have to do, you know, just use those parts and assemble them to create really a bigger thing than just little parts. That's how it came up. And then from then on, you know, I had to search on the internet on how to program and use servo motors and all that. I started with the Arduinos and all that. And that's how the project came up, you know. Slowly, it was not a goal at first to make a robot. It was just putting things together, you know, to create something bigger than the 3D printer itself, you know. So to make something that was really big coming out of it.
Absolutely. So, what is your background? How much of this world did you know about when you were getting your 3D printer?
Well, actually, I was already designing in 3D with Blender. It's an open source software. I was designing with this software for maybe a year and a half or something like this, and making little things, you know, but not really using it as a purpose for my work or anything. And what I'm doing in my life, you know, in my real work, I design objects for big brands, for clients. And I have over here some things I can show you. Wait a minute, huh?
Yeah. Stuart, I love this thing. It's just it's so cool, and when it comes to life, and it's still a work in progress. So
it's interesting that the starting point was 3D printing.
See, things like this. This is for Guerlain, you know, and like Gucci, you know, things, objects, things that actually everybody can use it in day life, you know, and it's for big brands. So working with those big corporates always made me search for new technologies. Always made me search for solutions. That's what I'm doing, because they ask me things, you know, that actually you cannot buy in the shop. So I had to always work and find solutions. And actually, making this robot is like finding solutions. It's finding people to design, how would I say, program it, like with Greg, you know. That's how it goes.
Right, and that's actually one of the key things that that I'm really curious about. You know, it's there's the physical construction of something like InMoov. There's the mechanical elements, the servos and so forth, but really the software aspect has to be able to keep up with the mechanical needs. So Greg has Greg Perry, who's done quite a bit of the software for this. He's been a pretty integral part of the project.
Are you asking me, or are you
I'm asking both.
I like to know Gail's opinion.
I'd love to hear. I would love to hear. So I think what we'll do is we can jump back and forth, because I do want to hear about the software aspect, and then I'd love to do a demonstration of InMoov, of your version of InMoov. But since we are talking about software, Gail, tell me about Greg's participation, and Greg, maybe you can jump in and tell us a little bit as well.
Yeah. All right. So when I was designing the hands, I was using Arduinos on the internet. I found many people told me you can use this kind of board and some other one, but the Arduinos, since they were open source, I thought this is what I need. So I started to work with that, and then scripting myself, to make the finger moves and all of this. But then it came up at one point. I had two arms, for this robot. So, and those two arms, they both had one Arduino, and I was thinking, man, how am I going to synchronize those two Arduinos together? So I started to look for software on the internet, open source again, and it's not easy to find. And there was my robot lab, but it was a little bit obscure to me. Every time I would get on my robot lab, it was a little bit difficult to understand. So I thought, why not contact this guy and see if he can help me? And right away, Greg started to help me, and he said, it's no problem to synchronize those two Arduinos. We're going to do it. So he started, I think, that night directly to script some stuff and put it together. And then pretty fast, I could see the two hands working together. And that's amazing, I mean, yeah, it is amazing. So let's talk about Greg now.
Yeah, so Greg, how much of this had you been working on before partnering up with Gail on the project?
Well, I mean, I've been designing. I've been building robots since 1980s or before, nearly. So it's been a while, and my background in a professional sense has been software design. So what I realized after building so many different robots time and time again is that right now we're at an age where everybody's building like custom robots, and this is in the same level where they, just everybody started building custom cars at one point. I mean, there was no automobile manufacturing, back in the 1870s or something like that, and everybody was who was involved in that field was a craftsman and made these, just amazing models. And so we've done the same thing. We've progressed, though, in the sense that we have amazing craftsmen like Gail that are making these just robots. But one of the challenges is that since it's not a commodity at this point, and all these things are so different in so many different ways, that you have to have some sort of software that can be able to handle all these differences. So as I built several or many robots before, it was a challenge for myself, or that I put to myself, that I need to make some software that I don't constantly throw away all these useful pieces, that I can still use this and add to it, and then so that's what it's kind of turned into. And so InMoov has kind of been one of the most complex robots, in the sense that it's got 22 actuators and 3 Arduinos and a whole bunch of others.
And more coming.
And more, lots more coming, apparently. And cameras, video tracking, video processing, all these sorts of things that are just being added to the thing as a whole. So there has to be some mechanism or some software that can add these pieces and continue to grow with it. So that's what I'm trying to achieve here, something that can gracefully or semi-gracefully take all these changes and take all these new additions and be successful in providing some sort of service at the end.
Greg, this is Stu. Which of the categories is innovating the fastest in your mind right now?
Categories? What categories are you?
Well, movement, vision.
Well, that's vision by far. It's so strange, but I've been interested in vision for a while, but by far it's our primary sense. So as humans, we demand a lot from this, and we expect a lot from it as well. So this is one of the biggest changes. Right now we have cameras that are just amazing for as far as a sensor value. I mean, they're so cheap now at this point. You can buy a webcam for less than $5 on the internet, and it actually provides something that works, I mean, in some ways like a camera. I mean, it's amazing. But the thing that's missing right now at this point is something like a visual cortex that can actually take those images one by one and process them into something useful that a computer could understand. We don't understand, or we as humans don't really need, you know, some huge blob of byte information. That's not what we want. We want stuff extrapolated from images that, you know, come through this camera. And right now, that's the part that's missing, and that's the part that's being developed really quickly.
It's really interesting. You know, that wouldn't have necessarily been the one that jumped out at me at first, vision-wise. But it's a good point that there is so much, and you see it. I see it a lot in consumer products where, you know, we've got face tracking, we've now got eyeball tracking. So you know, if you're trying to take a picture with your camera, that everyone's eyes are open and no one's blinking.
Exactly.
And that those aspects, those elements, seem to quickly become accessible to the hobbyist markets as well.
Well, right on the horizon, I mean, your car is starting to look at other cars. I mean, that's not very far down the horizon as far as we go. New cars have this capability, so it's getting really close.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we've a lot of teasing, but I think let's go ahead and let's fire up in the InMoov robot, and let's give this thing a spin. Let's show everyone what it's up to capability-wise right now, and then we can talk about some of the innards, how it actually works. So, Gail, are you able to turn this thing on?
Yeah, sure. All right. I didn't get it. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna put away the microphone for a minute. Okay.
Sure.
Like this, I can turn him on.
So this thing's great because it's got voice activation. So he's got his headset with the microphone that interacts with InMoov. And what we won't be able to hear it as clearly because he's got to put his microphone down so he can interact with the robot. But it's responding to him with voice commands.
Okay.
I'm gonna move this thing.
Did you say put it down?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
There you heard something. It's not me that said it. Hello?
Did you say Da Vinci?
No.
Sorry.
Hello? Hello?
Did you say hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Look at that.
Did you say track?
No.
Sorry.
Giving?
Did you say giving?
Yes.
Okay.
So it works pretty well.
Yeah, the sound is phenomenal. That's maybe one of my favorite parts.
Okay.
See, every time I'm talking to you, he thinks I'm talking to him, so it makes it a little bit confusing. But there he's doing different actions, you know, and you hear me talking or not?
Yeah, it's...
Take the ball.
Yes.
Okay.
That is just great.
Did you say
front?
delicate grab?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Did you say open hand?
No.
Sorry.
Perfect.
Did you say arms front?
You see, my English is not really good, so he doesn't understand everything.
So how many commands is InMoov responding to at this point?
Yes. Wait, I'm gonna change of stuff.
Okay.
Wait. Coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I can create as much as I want. You know, there's I have at the moment maybe 20 gestures. You know, but I can make 100. It's rather simple. I just move the sliders. Grog has made on the software. You just move the sliders of each servos to a position, and then you just tell the robot to capture the gesture, and then it adds a new gesture. You just give a name to that gesture, and you just have to say the name of that gesture, and the robot will ask, "Did you say that?" And you say yes, the robot does it. So actually, I'm not going to demonstrate that now because it takes a little bit of time.
Sure,
but he really can have you can make him take a ball on one side. He can go and grab the ball into the hand, take it to the other hand, look at the ball, start the tracking on the ball, and then if you take the ball away from him, you know, from his hand, he's following the ball with the tracking. So there's already a lot of features for somebody that wants to start developing a robot and play around. It's very complete already.
Gail, I heard you say that. I heard you say light grasp. Is there some control over how firmly the robot grasps with his hand?
Well, at the moment, there's I've set on the left hand. There's sensors, homemade sensors, very cheap stuff with carbon foam I made, and they are supposed to be able to work, but they are not even connected yet. But the idea is to plug them into the analog Arduino. Analog pins on the Arduino, and once that is done, we should get a feedback in the software and be able to control the pressure. At the moment, it just grabs an object, and since it's cables in the fingers, it can adapt its force somehow to the object.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 22 servos, if I'm not mistaken, currently. And it's got voice commands. Now it also has vision capabilities, motion tracking.
Yeah.
What are the components? Tell me about the specifics that are inside of InMoov.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get it.
Oh, that's okay. So what type of specific components? What types of servos are you using? What type of cameras are you using for the vision?
I'm using for the eyes. Wait, I turn him off. Otherwise, he's making so much noise. I don't hear the microphone. There's actually two cameras. I'm really trying to work this project on a low budget because I didn't plan to really invest a lot of money, and I'm making it really for anybody to build it, schools, you know, universities, and so keeping a low budget is very important to me as open source. So the cameras in the eyes are not more expensive than 11 euros, you know, something like $12 or something like that. And then the servos, the most expensive one, are 30 euros. I don't know exactly what it is in dollars, but 30 euros. And then what I've got in the forearms is really cheap, like 8 euros, you know. So in total, the total cost of the whole robot, with the plastic included, batteries, cameras, servos, Arduinos, we come up to maybe $500.
Okay.
You know, not more than that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, you need to, of course, you need to have a 3D printer to start your project. Without it, you don't get the robot.
So I've got a question that's coming in from one of the viewers asking if you could demonstrate the motion tracking. How was that something that you could show us easily?
Yeah, actually, I could. Yeah. Wait, let me get a ball.
Also, as Gail's preparing that, he also has a Kinect in the chest as well that we're trying to catch up as far as software to get the inverse kinematics in order so that he can kind of navigate in 3D space.
That's great. You know, it's interesting, as Gail was mentioning. There's the sensor capabilities of automobiles is rapidly increasing, and the self-driving cars are really reliant on having very capable sensor networks built into them. But that technology can be applied to a lot of different platforms. It's things to not be thinking about, you know, as we look forward to a leisurely riding through the freeways. But having that same setup inside of, say, a humanoid robot makes perfect sense.
And these sensors have become so much more affordable now. I mean, in the sense that a Kinect you can probably find on eBay for like $60 or something, a used Kinect.
Yeah.
And this gives you 3D information, just kind of similar to a LiDAR. I mean, as far as the detailed 3D space that now you can give to the computer in order to navigate or grab objects or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And talking about cameras, CMU just kickstarted the Pixie, which is a really fast vision detection, tracking hundreds of objects just falling out of the sky at the same time that they were demoing. It's really incredible.
So that's great.
That's like, I think it's only like $45, $50, $60. And they had it tracking a ping pong ball actively with a pan tilt, actually able to follow it as it went at that speed, which is just incredible. So this stuff is just getting so accessible and so good. It's really going to make our jobs much easier when we have this stuff, when we have access to it.
Super. Thanks, Chuck. So that's Chuck Fletcher, everyone, who is also one of the InMoov team. In building his own InMoov from a different continent entirely from Gale, and you can see behind him he's got his setup there, and we'll be jumping in with him to see. There you go. It's great to see how his build's been coming along. Hey, Gale, how are we looking for the motion tracking?
Yeah. So can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. There he's following the ball. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
And
Did you say? And you say?
he keeps on talking. Huh?
He wants to chat too.
Exactly.
Did you say victory?
What nationality is he?
It is a sophisticated accent.
Yeah.
Did you say release delicate?
Yeah, that's great. He's
Actually,
moving smoothly.
If you do it with people,
Did you say?
if you do it with people, you can follow the people, and it's really interesting to see the interaction between the people and the robot, because somehow the fact that the robot is following them with his head, suddenly the people, they realize that there's something going on. You know, it's not just a plastic thing, you know, that is standing on the front of them. It's something that is following them, you know, and that they even start to say something to the robot, you know, even though for the moment he cannot really respond. They start to communicate, and it's very interesting. And designing this robot to make it friendly, to make it looking nice, I think is very important. It makes it easy for the people to accept a robot around them, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the things that, you know, makes me so excited about it. It has a really phenomenal design. It's, you know, it's an exciting design, because that the humanoid aspect is really it's captured so well. You know, there's an Iron Man component to it in a sense.
Yeah.
So, Chuck, tell us about how you got involved with the project as well. Uh-oh, looks like you've been muted. Let's see if you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm back. So, yeah, I've been a science fiction fan for a really long time, and always saw things like C-3PO and the replicants in Blade Runner, and some of the work of the guys like Hanson Robotics in real life. But they spend, you know, $100,000, $200,000 creating a lifelike robot. And about a year ago, I probably saw the first pictures of InMoov, and I saw the press release that somebody was working on, that Gail was working on, sharing this thing, open source, and it was so beautiful and so, you know, compelling. I was like, wow, that's really great. But I hadn't really thought about doing one for myself. And then in the spring of this year, I got access to a MakerBot Replicator 2, and it was, and I really wanted to do something kind of epic with it. And I thought, like, wow, could I really take this on? And I started printing a few pieces at a time, and it started coming together, and it became kind of an obsession where I was just constantly printing and assembling pieces here and there. It's a great project in that you can actually do a hand or a head and have something within a, you know, very quickly have something that's really like compelling and tangible, and then when you start, you know, animating it, it just kind of goes off the charts. So I started printing in May. The total's probably about between 300 and 400 hours of printing, of nights and weekends of printing the pieces out. Again, we talked about a little bit about the cost. I think it cost me probably $700 to $800 US.
It's because you print with a high quality.
Right. Yeah. Well, I used about 4 or 5 spools of PLA plastic.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I think Gail at first wasn't sure it would work in PLA, and it took me a little bit of work when we had some discussions about whether this was viable when I was getting into some of the bigger parts that needed to be stronger. But I would just kind of mess with the fill rates to actually make it. So if I was assembling it and it would crack, I'd just go and print it again in a higher fill rate, and got to the point where stuff stayed together and started to work. I'm still working on it. It has hands animated, the head. It's doing the vision tracking. And about July, it was close enough for me to submit it into Maker Faire, and I got put into Maker Faire New York, and was kind of the ambassador for InMoov at Maker Faire New York. And that was fantastic. It was such a great experience to kind of meet everybody, have people come up, and so many people came up to me and said, "Oh, I did a hand or I did a piece," and I was like, "Well, great, you know, do more, and like next year we'll have 4 of these things. We'll have 10 of them here, and we can get them to interact and do more next year." And so it's been a fantastic project. Gail, I think, is kind of a genius. I mean, I'll be honest here. His work of the way he made these gears and put this thing together, and how the majority of it really just snaps together. I have made a few adjustments because of the PLA. I had a few things I had to change to work for me. I did some work and developed some electronics. I might show the board a little bit later. You know, and it just, you know, I took high school physics classes, and you kind of look and you think about, oh, screws and gears, but until you see this stuff work together, you're like, oh, that makes sense. That's how you make a servo move something like that. And to actually be assembling it and make it work, it's like, it definitely kind of gave it a whole new level. It was also great for me. My skills as a maker have been kind of going up and up, and to work on this project really cracked a lot of stuff open, where I felt like, wow, I can go, and what else could I do? So I went and I did a 3D printed quadricopter that now flies, right? So I don't think I ever would have tried that out hadn't I kind of did something like this on at a small scale, at a hand, and you say, oh, I'm working with servos. What else, what else can I use with RC parts, and what else can I do? So it's been great.
That's fantastic. So how many other InMoov projects would you guys say are out there then?
For me, it's difficult to say, but more than 100 for sure. I'm not sure. Complete, it's hard to say. I know that just the hand itself has been downloaded on Thingiverse, all parts together, 79,000 times.
Wow.
So it's really a lot. And but for the complete robot, I don't know exactly. I'm trying to figure out that we have created on the website like a map. So everybody that is building a piece like a hand or just the head or the whole full body, they can come on that map and start to say, yeah, I'm here and I'm building this. And it's very interesting to see that there's actually some everywhere in the world. You know, America, Australia, Japan, you know, Russia, France, Europe, everywhere. You know, it's really surprising. And I know there's a lot of people that don't come on that map. And there's more, because every day I see new pictures on the internet, you know, of a printed hand someplace, and it's very interesting to see.
Yeah. So any of those that are viewing that have built some of an InMoov project of their own, I would love for them to also go into our Robot Hacks community page and upload any images they can share, because I would love to see all of the different versions that people have been putting together. Now, Chuck, yours, you've got PLA, which is you're using a different type of plastic.
Yep.
Looks like there's a little bit less of a chest area, so it's still underway, but
Yep.
You've got some nice smooth movement that I see in the background there. So show us a little movement and tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with that.
Yeah, so I'll do a little bit of things up here. I'm just running some of the sliders right now, and then I can also do a little action where I'm making his hands go back and forth. Yeah, you know, it's this is really all, you know, Gail's and Greg's handiwork of this coming together so easily. You know, I mean, it's really incredible. I used all one-color natural PLA, which I kind of like, because it kind of gives it a little like a iRobot, you know, kind of almost like a skeleton kind of feel to it. It was funny, at Maker Faire, they actually had me in a section where there was actually a skeleton kind of in eye view, and it just they looked like brothers. You know, it was just kind of like really nice kind of thing. The other thing that was really interesting at Maker Faire is that one of the Science Museum directors came up to me and he said, "Oh, we're looking for stuff like this to actually have in the museum, engage more kids." And he was just blown away at what we were doing for about $700 or so, where they were being pitched something called the Thespian, which obviously is way up there, but it's several $100,000. But it's still a humanoid torso that's kind of interacting with the public, and we're kind of not that far from it on being able to, you know, I think the robustness needs some work, and there's some other things to just kind of make this thing standalone, something that could kind of interact with people on its own, but we're not that far away from that, which is really cool. Go ahead.
And you were starting to mention earlier some of the circuit board components for yours. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I'm over this summer, I was doing a lot of learning a lot of Maker stuff and just looking for any opportunity to break out the soldering iron and kind of learn something new. I noticed when I was putting together the parts that Gail had, you know, the kind of bill of materials and starting to assemble things, that I was just having these mess of wires and wanted to figure out how to simplify it. So I built a board with a couple, and I'll see if I can switch over to that camera. My first rev of it was just a couple rows of headers, and basically a female header I could plug in one side of the Arduino into, and power, and basically just kind of get it, and really eliminate 90% of the wires, and really get it down just to power and plugging in the servos themselves, which really cleaned it up a lot. So I've done a second generation where actually it's just a little bit cleaner, and I'm interested actually in building a board that actually would be a lot of these things and just make it really simple and put it out there for people to go and print and assemble themselves. It just simplifies it and makes it easy. Maybe put some things in it like something accelerometer that could actually give some feedback on position of where the robot arm or hand might be turned or positioned would be kind of cool.
Smart. That sounds like a useful component to have there. So yeah, let's see if you can get the other camera.
Yeah. So let's see if we can do that.
There you go.
So this is the board. a little jumpy, but you can see. Let me see. I can show some of the parts here.
Yeah, if
So
you hold it still, it'll probably
Yeah.
help focus.
Sorry about it. It's a little tough.
It's okay.
It's kind of delayed too.
Yeah.
Oops, let me see if I can get it. So it's a Arduino Nano. If I can get it close here. Wait, you know what? If I hold it the right way, it's actually easier. It's terrible. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's an Arduino Nano, and I've got, so you can see the servos all getting plugged into those rows of headers there.
Yep.
And then at the end here, if I can get over there, we've got power. It's a little like we're using a mouse with the wrong hand. Wait, that way, down. This is tough. Anyway, you get the point. But it's kind of fun. And let me switch back.
And so you said that's an Arduino Nano. Is that the one you've got there?
Yeah.
Is that the primary board that's driving things?
Well, there's 3 Nanos that all talk back to the same MacBook Pro I'm running this on.
Okay.
And I've since figured out that the BeagleBone Black is actually powerful enough to run OpenCV, so for doing the motion tracking stuff. So I might actually try and migrate all this onto a BeagleBone, so the robot could be really standalone, which would be really cool.
That is very cool.
You know, my personal interests on this are trying to see what we could do with it as a telepresence device. You know, some of the telepresence that you see now is basically like a screen on wheels, so you see the person's face. But how cool would it be if it was actually you were seeing through an embodiment that's in the room? You know, the CEO actually gets to pound on the table and say he's mad. You know, and actually have an effect in the room. The full-size torso of InMoov is so cool because it actually gives off. This is going to sound really strange, but you know, we have a sense about what's in a room around us. And a couple times I've walked into the room and forgotten, of course, that the robot's here, and I get to sense someone's in the room with me. You know, and it's really our little, you know, echolocation or whatever we have in our ears. But the fact that it is full size actually has this real visceral feedback to it.
Sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a big part of the fascination that we have with the humanoid robot. You know, there might be form factors that that are more efficient for specific uses, but you know, ultimately, that's the thing that it seems that we always come back to. Can we build a humanoid robot?
Yeah. When I designed the first hand, actually, I designed it on my size, on my own hand, and then from at that
there's
moment
now
when
100 Gales out there.
Yeah, right.
The image of the creator.
Yeah. When I designed that hand, you know, actually, it was funny to see that when it was moving, that it was like a human hand. I always loved hands, you know, because they represent gestures. They mean a lot to us when we're talking. Sorry, I'm not on the camera anymore.
I can see it's part of you there, but that's
Hello. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why actually it became a humanoid robot, because I started on the human size for the hand, because the whole project started like that, just making the hand and then the shoulders and the head and so on. And maybe if I would have started with a small little hand, I would have made a small robot. But there, I'm really glad to have done something that is really human size, you know, and it's very impressive every time. You know, when people are coming in and they just see the robot and then the head turns because there's the vision tracking, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you this this thing over here. I don't know if you can see.
We can, yeah. That's so.
Yeah. All right.
And
so the idea over here is there's a printed hand there with the servos inside. You can see the rotation system inside.
Yeah. If you would bring that right up to the camera, I would love to get a close look at that servo setup you've got there.
Yeah, you got it?
Yep.
So this is what is actuating the servo is turning, pulling the cables along inside and up to the fingers. And each finger has two two cables, one to pull and one to track back. So this is how it's working. So the idea over here is, wait, let me plug this thing. So once it's plugged, it moves. Yeah, can you still see the thing?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's the screen over here. So when I put my hand in the screen, you can actually see the hand moving directly. If I close my hand, you can see the fingers moving. So it's using a leap motion. This is the kind of very interesting thing you can do, actually, because once you have printed the hand, you can make all kinds of things. You can use like a power glove to control the hand. You can use a leap motion. You can use just a software like with Grok. You know, there's plenty of things to do. That's very fun. And this is was scripted by some Korean people, and they posted a video on YouTube. And when I saw it, I said, "Come on, I need that script. You know, it's fun. We need to share this." And they said, "Yeah, of course. We send you the script." And I popped it in the computer. It took me a while, you know, like 3-4 days to work on my computer to finally make it work. But at the end, you can play, and everybody's going to play with that thing.
Yeah, that's wild. So the original script, was it designed for InMoov, or was it something they were doing separate?
No, it was designed on Leap Developer. So it is, but the Korean people, yes, they designed it for the servos, and actually you can then set it to measure the exact positions of the servos, so they don't go too far and start to burn. But yeah, it is designed for InMoov, but you can use it also to make a light move, or you can use it to make a little robot walk. You know, you can use the Leap for anything, actually.
Great.
Right?
Yeah, that's wild. So are you liking the leap motion?
Yeah, leap motion is interesting. It's I think for games and things like this, it's very fun. But to control the computer itself, it's not Minority Report yet. It's you know, you try to move the screen and you just can't hit the buttons because there's like a latency and all that. But for this kind of thing, it's really great. You can make all kinds of projects and make other things. It's fantastic.
So I think the next time that you see a move, quite possibly, we'll have the Kinect involved, so that Gail can start doing the Simon Says game and do full body kind of gestures, and InMoov will be copying those, just because Kinect is such an awesome sensor now.
Yeah, and there's the newer Kinect looks to be even more sensitive and more capable. Have you guys been able to get a peek at that?
It's the Xtion. It's a smaller one. Yeah, much smaller one. Yeah. Actually, what happened is I had to, for a job, I needed to scan full-size people and 3D print them. So I ran into the shop. I had like 3-4 days to do that job. I ran into the shop, got the Kinect, connected it to the computer, found out how I could scan people, and I made my job with that Kinect. And then I thought, what am I going to do with that thing? So I stuck it into the robot, and hopefully we're going to be able to use it and use it as kinematic and maybe detect 3-dimensional objects. Yeah, I think it's the next thing, right?
Say, Gail, one question. Have you talked to anybody who thought about using sign language?
Yes, when I was invited in Utrecht, that's in Holland, I talked with somebody that was very interested. He asked me if actually we could use the hand to teach sign languages. I said that it must be possible, but there's positions in sign languages that this hand cannot do. I'm working on a new design there of hand that is going to be to be used as a prosthetic, and but unfortunately it's only with 4 fingers and not 5 fingers, so I don't think we're going to be able to use this also for sign languages.
Yeah. So, Greg, one of the things that you were mentioning earlier before we went live was the open source speech recognition software. I think you said it was called Sphinx?
Sphinx.
Sphinx. Just
Yeah.
like it, yep. Tell us about that.
My robot lab is kind of a framework where the idea was that there's a huge amount of awesome open source software out there. The problem is that it's not very accessible for most people. You have to be a developer in order to get these things to work. So my kind of idea was to encapsulate these open source projects, and we have a term at my robot lab which is to Borg them in.
Yeah.
Which is very true. I mean, we find a great project out there, and then we encapsulate it, and then we make it available for the other services that exist in my robot lab. So it becomes like a block within the whole Lego set, so that they can plug together. Sphinx is one of these projects. Sphinx is a really probably the cutting edge of the speech recognition software for open source. So that's one of our blocks.
Got it. What are some of the other blocks?
OpenCV for vision processing. There's inverse kinematics, open source programs, PID, speech synthesis. There's TTS, which is a speech synthesis open source project. There's just, it's almost incalculable how much work has gone into these projects and how much stuff is out there. But again, it's not in an accessible way unless you're a developer.
And that's something that you guys are obviously aiming to try to overcome.
Well, even as a developer, I found that if these things are encapsulated, I like to use them more too.
Yeah.
So it helps everybody. I mean, there's certain things that we all want to get done, and to get them done in an easy way is just desirable.
That makes sense. Yeah. So, what's next? I know that you've got you've got the torso, arms, head of a robot here. What's coming after that?
Okay, so I started first at the beginning when I thought, okay, I'm gonna build a robot. All right, I have arms, I have a head, I have a torso. What am I going to put under this? And I thought I was going to build some kind of Segway with wheels that we could actually print also. You know, we could just print segments of wheels and assemble it. But putting this idea on the internet, on the community, there's a lot of people that came up and said, no, it cannot be on wheels, it has to walk, you know, it's not possible, a humanoid robot has to walk. So I decided, all right, we're going to make him walk. So I started to print, wait, I'm going to take off my headphone again. I started to print designing the food and making the angle to be able to twist and turn in like ours. No idea if this can work actually for a humanoid robot, but like the rest, I'm just doing it, and we'll see how we can manage it. If we have to transform parts, if I have to redesign the ankle or something like this, I will do that, and then at some point I believe it's going to walk. If I would have listened to a lot of people when I was building the torso, a lot of people told me the gearings and all that, they're never going to last long, you know, and it's still working. I present it every time I'm going to different shows, presenting the robot, and it just runs, you know. So I'm keeping on doing the feet and keeping on designing the parts, and hopefully there's going to be the complete legs next year or somewhere, maybe sooner. I don't know. Depends of the time I get.
That's exciting. That's very, very exciting. You know, there are, like you guys were mentioning before, there's some really big budget robotic projects out there that we see being publicized quite a bit. You know, and these are things, you know, like the Asimo, Boston Dynamics is doing some incredible things, but we're talking like multi-million-dollar projects with, you know, entire organizations that are working on all of the different components. So to see something that's, you know, it's an open source community project that Gail, you've done a great job of taking charge and giving everyone this inspiration. It's really, really exciting.
As a platform, I think it's amazing because now that we have the standard platform, people are developing for it in the same way they develop for an Android phone or for a computer. And now when other people make something cool for the InMoov, it's available for everybody else in the community. So that's really incredible to me because now there's people working on speech, and there's people working on all kinds of things, and you know, Gail working on the Connect work. And that just makes my robot better, right? I'm going to wake up one morning and my robot's going to be able to do things it couldn't do the day before, and it's great.
Yeah. And so, Chuck, what's next with your build?
That's a great question. I kind of need to finish my build and make it all work.
You need the chest.
Yeah, I got to get my chest going, and I do want to get my full arm motion. A couple weeks before, or probably about a week before Maker Faire, I was messing with some of the servos in the arms, and I had the arm just come up and just twist itself and crack it right off the body. And it was just so traumatic. I had to put it aside for a while because I felt like I'd broken my baby. You know, I threw it too high into the sky or whatever and dropped it. But it was it was tough. So it's amazing, like the physical connection you have. Like when it cracks or when it doesn't work, you feel like your baby's sick, you know, or broken. And so anyway, I want to get that going, and I'm really interested in the telepresence. So the idea of being able to put the InMoov somewhere else and inhabit the InMoov remotely and be looking through its eyes is really incredible to me. You know, and so there's a lot of latency issues to solve, but I have stereo cameras, and I actually have an Oculus Rift. So the idea of me being able to move my Oculus Rift around and actually have the InMoov ape those movements at a distance is really cool, to actually feel like I'm in that other place, and especially because I have actuators, I can do things in that other place, and that's really neat.
Yeah,
we've been working with Greg the other night because we plan on having. So my robot is going to be in the workshop, ready for Greg to be able to control it from where he is in America. So we've been working on that, trying some stuff, and it's very impressive to have the robot next to you and to see that actually Greg is in America on the other side of the ocean, and the hand is starting to lift up, and then the fingers, they close. You know, it's just incredible. And so the idea is to set the robot ready. So like this, Greg is going to be able to take control of it and be able to work on it, to progress, you know, on the programming, because Greg doesn't have one at the moment of those robots. So for him, it's sometimes very difficult to understand exactly what the positions of the arm can do and what is the maximum positions. Yes, so that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if you think about the lifetime of a robot being the amount of time that a program runs, basically all these things have the lifespan of basically a fruit fly. I mean, so in order to evolve them to any degree, they have to be on and running and available to be developed on at a longer period of time than just like 4 hours or something like that. Right.
Yeah, that's a good point, and an important one. So I imagine as things move forward, those are the longevity is an important aspect that gets examined as well.
even in university, I mean, the amount of time that you get to spend on robots in general, to be able to actually test on real hardware, is extremely rare at this point.
So, how do people participate with My Robot Lab and with InMoov?
Well, they go to the InMoov site, or they go to My Robot Lab, and they download parts, and they can begin printing or downloading software immediately. I mean, it doesn't take much, and that's part of it. I mean, that's part of the appeal.
Yep.
And we'll make sure. I mean, obviously the links are pretty straightforward, but we'll make sure to put those into the video community page, so those of you who are watching that want to get active with this can click right through and start getting the information you need. I'm really excited to see this progress. Is InMoov either of the builds that you two have making any appearances anywhere soon?
Like a show or something like that?
Yeah, any Maker Faire appearances or so forth?
Yeah, I presented InMoov at the Maker Faire in Roma. It was presented by Chuck in New York. It is presented by Jay Hack in Australia, I think now. And there, this coming weekend, I'm presenting it in Paris for the 3D print show. And yes, there's more to come. More to come.
Great. So yeah, those
but
of you.
What I want to say, it looks for somebody that starts robotic, you know, it looks like a very big project. But there's a smaller things I've put on the website. There's a finger starter, which is just one finger, one servo, and one Arduino board, and you just connect those things. Then you go on My Robot Lab. You look at the tutorial on how to connect that together, and already with that you can start to play and make the finger move up and down and control it with the slider and program it. And then I think once you've done the finger, you're ready to go on and make the whole robot.
Which finger is it?
It's the index. Index.
So, Gail, you said that people can find that on the InMoov page, or is that through Thingiverse, or both locations?
It's on inmove.fr. I don't know how to say that. FR, French.
Okay. Sure.
But if they type InMoov on Google, they will find the website very easily. And then on the website, they can find the links to different parts to download. They also can find the link to My Robot Lab. And it might be a bit confusing on the website. I'm working on with the Italian man, you know, to reconfigure the whole website for people to understand better, because I've made different iterations through time, and then some people just coming in, they might download the wrong parts at first and start to print the wrong parts. So I'm really trying to reorganize all of that.
Evolution can be painful sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very.
that's true. But hopefully all for the best in the end. So you know, this has been exciting. Seeing life-size 3D printed robots is always an amazing thing. Any last notes that you guys have as we wrap up?
Well, yeah, I really hope to see more people coming around and start to print it and mostly share with us, you know, what they can do, pictures and ideas and all that. That's the main thing that I'm hoping for.
Great.
Yeah, I think InMoov, I think, is an incredible project for middle school and high school curriculums, and I think it hits a level of people that that feel a little overwhelmed with things like FIRST robotics and things like that. That's a very intense engineering curriculum. This is really much more of a creative plaything kind of way of going at it, and I think the way the way that my robot lab is set up and the ease of assembly of a lot of these parts, I think people even from arts curriculums and whatever can actually get in and play and actually, make something that's very satisfying and get them into a space that otherwise they wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chuck makes a good point. I think you can choose the depth that you want to go with the pieces that are out there now.
Mm.
Yeah, I look at this, I think about as I was a kid and I was active with my RC cars and I spent, years noodling around and tinkering with frames and motors and different components, and really taught myself quite a bit about how to be handy, how to fix things, how to try things out and make adjustments. Now, this platform, had it been available when I was a 10-year-old, it's a completely different thing, and I would have, I know I would have gone crazy for this, and I probably still will, even as a grown-up, because this is fantastic. But it looks like such a great platform for so many different applications. Well, guys, this has been awesome. Stuart, do you have any last thoughts?
I do. I've just been trying to figure out when to ask this question of Gal, but it is about the thumb. Is the thumb engineered differently from the fingers?
Yes, it is. It is engineered differently. I will try to show you over here. Actually, it's moving the same way than the fingers, but then it can slide this way. I don't know if you can see correctly on the screen.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah. And so because it can move to the side like this, back into the hand, when you pull it, it creates the position that it can go and grab something or with the two fingers. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you. I was just fascinated by that.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
It has opposable thumbs. Watch out.
That was unstated, but
Well, thanks, Gail, and thanks, Chuck, and thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
Those of you guys that want to see more and get involved, you can go to the InMoov website and the MyRobot website, and also stay involved with our program here, makezine.com/robot-hacks. We've got one session left next week. On the 20th, we'll be jumping in and looking at all of the projects that the participating teams have been putting together. So that there's been, as mentioned, some fantastic engagement. Over 550 members in the Robot Hacks community, which just launched. That's a great number right now, and I'm sure it'll be more by the time next week rolls around. The participating teams, as we mentioned before, continue to update us through the community page with the progress of your projects, and we're excited to see how they come together and discuss them next week. So until then, keep building and have a lot of fun with it. Thanks again, everyone, for taking part.
Okay.
And we'll see you next week.
I know.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.